The Arrowverse has been around for almost 6 years now, and in those 6 years, they have included a total of 7 shows in the multiverse, with another one being on the way, that's Batwoman, as well as Black Lightning, which I will include in this list because why not? It's a CW show, it's a DC show on the CW, and I think even though it hasn't connected to the Arrowverse yet, I think it probably will in the future, so I will include it. With Black Lightning being included, the Arrowverse contains 6 live-action shows, that's Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Constantine, and Black Lightning, as well as 2 animated shows, that's Vixen and Freedom Fighters, The Ray, if you want to call those things shows. Some of those shows are very clearly better than others, so in this video I will rank every show in the Arrowverse. I also will give you guys some short reviews to go along with those rankings. So before I start, make sure to leave your list in the comments down below, and don't forget to leave a like, share this video with a friend, and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. So without further ado, before I start the video, you can probably tell in the title that it says part 1, and that is true. This video will be a part 1 with the second part coming up, I don't know, probably tomorrow, maybe a couple days after this one, going over numbers 1 and 2. Basically, spoiler alert, the video will be about whether or not Arrow or The Flash are a better TV show. You could probably already know that The Flash and Arrow are number 1 and 2, but in that video I'll go over which one's number 1 and which one is number 2, so that's a different video. For this video, let's begin the video with number 8. Number 8 is Freedom Fighters The Ray. I hesitate to even include this quote-unquote show on the list because of the fact that it is only 2 half-an-hour seasons, but that's the case for Vixen as well. The reason I really hesitate to put this on the list, even more than Black Lightning, is because it isn't really canon to the Arrowverse, like, at all. Now, Black Lightning might not be either, but nothing happens or is said in Black Lightning that directly contradicts the events of the Arrowverse. But in Freedom Fighters, like every 2 minutes something happens, or a character appears, or a character meets another character that completely contradicts what will eventually happen in Crisis on Earth X, because this is supposedly supposed to be a prequel. Not only that, but it's also really painfully boring. The animation is okay, the voice acting is a little wonky, but honestly, the reason it's not worth the watch is because not only, other than the fact that it has no bearings on the Arrowverse whatsoever, it also has no character and no substance. There's one episode that does have some character, and that's the episode where Ray comes out to his parents. That's not a bad episode, but the rest of the show is nothing. It's just a long, drawn-out fight scene with no characters, no substance, and absolutely no bearing on the Arrowverse at all. There's really no point to watching it. I give this show a 3 out of 10. If I were you, if you haven't seen it yet, then there's no point. Just skip it. Number 7 is Vixen. Just like Freedom Fighters, Vixen has 2 half-an-hour seasons, if you want to call them that, and they did put them together into a movie with like 10 minutes of extra footage, but that movie was pretty bad, if you want to call it a movie, because it just felt like half an hour of one thing, 10 minutes of the other thing, which is the extra footage, and it wasn't that great, and then the half an hour of the second thing. Now, those separate things weren't bad, but if you put it together in a movie, it has no structure whatsoever. It's not really a movie. That being said, the actual show isn't that bad. The animation is pretty good, much better than Crisis on Earth X. The voice acting also not bad at all. The characters are quite interesting, and it actually has bearings on the Arrowverse, or at least it used to. Because of some timey-wimey time travel on Legends of Tomorrow Season 3, the show has basically been retconned and is no longer canon because of the events of Season 3, where they made it so that Mari's hometown was never destroyed, and then because of that, Kwaza and Mari both became Vixen. This show no longer matters because of that, which I don't like, because this show is quite enjoyable, and it just sucks that it's so short and it doesn't really matter anymore, because this actually had potential to be an actual full 13-episode, 20-minute animated show, and it probably would have been an interesting one to see. That being said, it is not really worth the watch because it has no bearings in the Arrowverse, and it's just too short to be seen as a TV show, really. So I will give this 5 out of 10. That being said, like I said, if it was 13-minute episodes, or 13-episode long, 20-minute episodes, then it probably would have been a pretty good animated show, much higher than 5 out of 10. Number 6 is Supergirl. Supergirl has a lot of problems. There are positives on the show, like certain characters, such as Windshot, Martian Manhunter, Mon-El, Brainiac 5, and Superman. You might realize all those characters are guys, and it's not because I'm sexist, it's because the show does not know how to write female characters. The rest of the Arrowverse isn't very great either. Legends of Tomorrow might be the best at it, but either way, Supergirl is ironically the worst at writing female characters for a show that has such an abundance of female characters. Like, they choose to focus on female characters, which would be fine if they just weren't so bad at writing those characters. That's not the only problem with the show. The terrible one-sided political commentary, the pretty bad writing for the most part, the villains are mostly terrible. In fact, the only villain that I could think of from the show that wasn't terrible was Rain, who they kind of threw aside for the end of Season 3, which was really, really, really terrible. Season 3 did remedy some of these problems, at least a little bit, and I actually liked Season 3 for the most part until the last couple episodes, which were actually the worst couple episodes of the show ever, which is saying so much. And just as I thought Supergirl could finally have a good season, it failed in the end, and yeah, Supergirl has yet to have a good season. Do I think Supergirl can ever have a good season? Honestly, anything is possible, but I highly, highly, highly doubt it. That being said, I do enjoy some of what the show has to offer. It's just, for the most part, it's pretty bad. The fight scenes are usually pretty bad. Like I said, the villains are not very good. The character drama is garbage. I'll give the show a 6 out of 10. It could use some huge improvements. Number 5 is Constantine. Constantine was a TV show that was retroactively added to the Arrowverse, meaning it wasn't originally going to be connected to the Arrowverse, but was added in the Arrowverse either way after actually it was canceled. Constantine is very different to the rest of the Arrowverse, much different tone, different style to the show, which is fine, but the way the show worked is not the type of show I usually like watching. The way it worked was that each episode had a completely separate story, and the overarching season-long storyline was really more in the background. Although that's kind of unfair to say, because the season finale never aired, and that could have possibly connected every episode. But that being said, the season finale never aired, and I doubt it would have connected it that much. The lack of an overarching story made the show feel kind of boring, and didn't really have anything going for it other than the terrific casting for John Constantine, and the other things of which were interesting were Dr. Fate's potential appearance, because his helmet did appear, and the Spectre storyline, which was sadly never resolved. That being said, Constantine, it was canceled, and I kind of see why. It was kind of boring. But I would say the casting for Constantine was spot on. I'll give the show a 7 out of 10. Number 4 is Black Lightning. Black Lightning is really only one season deep and has a lot of potential in its future, especially if they include some other DC characters like Static or the rest of the Outsiders. But the first season, honestly, was just fine. The season didn't really do anything interesting at all. The season structure was a little wonky, and there wasn't a clear main villain, which I hate it when these shows don't have a clear main villain. That's like the worst thing you could do. It's worse than even having a bad main villain, because you want to have someone you could actually root against. But in this season, it was Tobias Whale for a while. Then it was Proctor, who was just a terrible villain. Honestly, I didn't really like Tobias Whale either. I really hate those mob boss villains who kill the people that work for them. I hate those villains so much. And Tobias Whale, although he had some moments and his backstory was kind of interesting, he was one of those villains that I really don't like it. I will say the main cast is pretty good, and seeing the Pierce kids becoming Thunder and Lightning, although she hasn't really become Lightning yet, is pretty awesome. Also, I really like this guy, Painkiller. He was easily the best villain on the show. Something I will never get over, though, is how long the titles are and how they always include, or they always are a book. Like, the first episode of season 2 is called The Book of Consequences: The Rise of the Green Light Babies, Chapter 1. That title is way too long. Like, stop it. I give the show a 7 out of 10. Number 3 is Legends of Tomorrow. Legends of Tomorrow had a pretty rough start. The first season failed in so many aspects. The season focused on 3 terrible characters, and I think the fact that it focused on these characters made these characters even worse, those characters being Hawkman, but to a much larger extent Hawkgirl and Vandal Savage, and that really hurt the show. On top of that, the show wasn't any fun, which we would come to learn in season 2 and 3. That is the core of Legends of Tomorrow, and what makes it good. It's a lot of fun. Season 2 got rid of the Hawks and Savage and brought in some great villains from Arrow and the Flash to make a great, fun season, and then Season 3 upped the ante even further by having a better overarching story and a great main villain that wasn't really taken from Arrow or the Flash, and the season was a lot of fun. That being said, I don't think I will ever like Legends of Tomorrow as much as The Flash or Arrow for a couple of reasons. The big one is that I don't usually gravitate to more towards fun shows over serious shows, and that's not a complaint on Legends of Tomorrow. That's what they excel at. But just because of that, I probably won't like Legends of Tomorrow ever over Arrow or The Flash. Also, other problems is that the show focuses too much on original characters, so much so that it sometimes barely feels like a DC show, which is a problem because the DC characters are the main reason I watch these shows. Another problem is that the large cast of characters without a real clear main character, although Sarah Lance is the main character, she doesn't feel like it sometimes, makes it so the characters on the show really never change or develop, which is a pretty big problem. That being said, Legends of Tomorrow is a lot of fun, and I am excited for the next couple seasons, so I'll give the show an 8 out of 10. So that is it for this list. I definitely want to know what your list is in the comments down below. And again, this is the first part. Part 2 will come out in the next couple days. There's not a specific date, so definitely if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe. And if you are, click the notification icon next to the subscribe button, and then you will get notified for when the video is released. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.